Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Conventicle bringing you guys some more 2007 old school RuneScape. And today I thought I'd touch on a topic which a lot of people have already talked about, which is the new legacy mode. But a lot of people who have been playing old school RuneScape, such as me, have been wondering if it will kind of kill out the fan base for the old school RuneScape version, since the old combat system is going to be coming back with the legacy mode. So that is what I'm going to be discussing today. And if you guys don't know what legacy mode is, basically they implemented a new system called Power to the Players to RuneScape 3, which is basically the poll system we have for old school RuneScape, so that way the fans of the game can have more of a say on what is updated into the game. And a lot of people have been wanting the old combat system back because they do not like the evolution of combat, and that is why a ton of people quit the game and then came back because they found old school RuneScape, which contains the old combat system. But yeah, legacy mode is a combination of evolution of combat and the pre-evolution of combat, which is the old combat system. And what they plan on doing with legacy mode is that once you log in, you can either choose to use evolution of combat or the old combat system, and they want to make it so that way people who are using either system can play together and you know, kill monsters together, be in the same world, and just do the same things, but they're just using whatever combat system they prefer. And if this doesn't work, they might just make different worlds for either combat system you prefer. But this could be a big problem, because if you are PvPing somebody and they are using the evolution of combat, they might have the upper hand on you. And I can't really say this is going to be totally true, but it is a good guess of mine that that is going to happen, because we don't really know how the old combat system is going to be implemented yet, but that is just my opinion, because like everybody says that evolution of combat, it gives you a better advantage over bosses and stuff like that. Personally, I'm a person who quit before evolution of combat even came. I quit in 2010, but I have been, you know, studying what evolution of combat is about, and I tried to go on and play, and it was just too confusing for me to get used to, so that's why I never went to RS3 and I just stayed here on old school RuneScape, which is what I'm used to. But basically, if you are in the same world using the evolution of combat compared to the old combat system, you're probably going to be hitting better and getting faster kills on bosses just for training and on PvP. So I really don't know how they are going to implement this into the game. And if they were able to implement this into the game, then they would probably have to create different worlds from what I know of. But don't just take my word for it, because we really do not have too much information on the legacy mode at the moment. The next thing, however, though, is that a lot of people quit RuneScape before evolution of combat even came. I'm probably going to put a chart on the screen, if I remember, on the population of players who play the game, and I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but this is what pretty much makes sense to me, because that is kind of how my love for the game went with the updates that kept happening on the game. I kept liking it less and less, and then eventually I just got bored of it and I dropped off. So I quit the main game in, I believe, late 2010, and I kept liking it less and less because of the updates that were happening to the game. It was starting to become confusing. I didn't know half the shit that was being implemented into the game at that moment. It was becoming too easy. I didn't like the dungeoneering skill. It was just not my thing. It didn't really make sense to me. It was basically just another series of armor, food, and it was kind of more like a mini game to me, so I didn't really like it as a skill. And also, I didn't like the updates to the graphics that they were having into the game. If you look at barrows and bandos and dragon armor in old school RuneScape, not detailed wise like graphically, but just the way it looks in old school RuneScape, in my opinion, looks better than the way it does in RuneScape 3. So that is basically the entire reason I quit, and at that point I got two 99 skill capes, so I didn't really have too many goals left to do, and I just got bored of the game, and that's why I quit it at that time. And then I came back to old school RuneScape because it didn't have all of those bad updates that I didn't like. The next reason that I think people are going to stay on old school RuneScape is that a lot of people, including myself, have made their old school RuneScape accounts better than their main game accounts were back in the day before they quit. And when I joined this game, I knew how to play, and I set goals for myself and I accomplished them fast because I knew how to do them. So I basically grinded everything out, and now my stats on this game and also my bank are better than they were on the main game. This game has been out for a year, and it took me a ton of playtime in order to get my old school RuneScape account to where it's at. And I've done a shit ton in just 1 year on this game compared to the main game. I have probably a better account in this game within 1 year than I ever did when I played RuneScape back in the day, which was for probably like 4 or 5 years, which is a shit ton of time where I just probably did nothing and was just hanging around at house parties. And I was also younger then, so I was probably not as smart, and I didn't really set goals for myself, and I was just sitting there doing nothing. But yeah, I'm not just gonna leave this game, which I've spent a year on and I'm still doing stuff on, in order to switch to something that I'm not really as used to. However, all of this doesn't mean that there are going to be people who try out Legacy mode and switch from old school RuneScape to RuneScape 3 because they do enjoy the Legacy mode. And I have no problem with that. And also, there are going to be people who just like to play both, which is also fine for me. Even if they decided to get rid of the evolution of combat completely and just stick with the old school combat system, then I think at max there would probably only be about 1,000 people switching from old school RuneScape to RuneScape 3. And this is because, like I said earlier, a lot of people didn't like the updates. A lot of people have better accounts on old school RuneScape rather than RuneScape 3 at this point, and also a lot of people can't even run RuneScape 3 on the PC that they have right now. I know I can't run it too well, so I'm just gonna stick with this simplistic thing that I'm used to called old school RuneScape. That is what I plan on doing, but I really don't have a problem, like I said, with people switching, as long as old school RuneScape doesn't lose its core fan base, which I really doubt would happen. Old school RuneScape has been having a ton of great updates happening to it, which I really love, so I'm just gonna stick with this, and I'm sure a lot of people also are. However, I hope Legacy mode can satisfy those people who miss RuneScape 3. And that is basically all I have to say. Give me your opinions on the new Legacy mode and if it might kill old school RuneScape or whatever you want to say down in the comments section below. I read all my comments and I usually respond to most of them. And also, if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys later in my next video if you're subscribed. Peace.